how do we think about a market for capital goods? Well, the way we're going to think about it, and at least the simplest model I'm going to do, is I'm going to think about there being a use market. And in my use market, I'm going to think about there being a demand schedule for capital. That's the demand for capital. And at any point in time, there's going to be a capital stock, KT. And I'm going to assume that the use market has to clear. There's a market clearing in the use market. So whatever today's capital stock is, together whatever the demand to use capital, remember, these are people who are going to use the capital today, that is going to determine today's rental price. Today's rental price is going to be determined by the amount of capital that's out there and the demand to use capital. Just like any other commodity, the price that exists is going to have to clear the market on the demand side. This is like I talked about last time. Forget, I haven't even talked about supply. Whatever this K comes from, whatever magical process created K, it has to satisfy this equation. Right? Everybody understands that? This is not assuming K's in fixed supply. It doesn't matter. This is just saying we got to be in equilibrium. And in equilibrium, whatever K turns out to be, that combination of K and R got to be on the demand curve. Can't be off the demand curve. Right? Whether it's on the supply curve or not is an independent question. Right? That as long as we got an equilibrium out there, market clearing tells me it's got to be on the demand curve. Yes?
So this means that we're kind of starting with RT and then PT is defined?
No, they're going to be jointly defined. This you're saying this is the equilibrium. I haven't told you where K or R comes from. This is a restriction on the combinations of K and R that can exist in equilibrium. Right? Do you see the idea? It's the idea there's a demand for using capital today. Whatever that demand for using capital is today, the combination of R and K has to be clear that market. Otherwise, yeah. Well, if you're holding, it means like, is it F partial K? At this point, yes. At this point, that height will be equal to the value marginal product of capital because that's how users of capital are going to define their demand. Whether this schedule came off the cost function or came off the marginal product schedule from the production function would depend on what I'm doing, thinking about out of equilibrium, right? That's a tougher question. That's a different question. But at that point that I have an equilibrium, I would say yes. Value marginal product capital better be equal to R. Otherwise, people aren't optimizing. Okay? Any questions that people have? Okay, people understand the concept? People understand. These are cars. People are demanding, they want to drive. And they can drive new cars, they can drive old cars. Maybe this is houses. You can live in a new house, you can live in an old house. Maybe there's factories. You can run a new factory, you can run an old factory. But whatever it is, there's some demand to drive cars, live in houses, use factories. This is demand for use. Right? That's the key. This is demand to use these assets. Okay, it's a use market. Yeah. Could be. Could be production. This could be like the demand for housing. I'm going to talk about the housing market and the housing market boom. In which case this will be like the demand for housing. I might use this to talk about the demand for physical capital in production. It's okay too. Cars. I might use this as demand for automobiles. I'm going to use it for any durable asset. Final consumption, intermediate, whatever you want to